So, Hare Krishna Bhujmataji, welcome all of you to today's Bhagavad Gita session. Today is 1st of May 2026. So, we'll be discussing three verses from first chapter Bhagavad Gita 23, 24, and 25. So, let us recite. Yosya mananavekshyaham yaetetra samagataha dhartarashtrasya durbuddher yuddhe priya chakirshavaha. Translation by Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Who can you share the translation? Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Go to the next verse, 24th. Sanjay Uvacha Evam Yukto Rishikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayorubhayor Madhye Stapayitva Ratottamam. Translation by Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Sanjaya said, O descendants of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. 1.25 Bhishmadrona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitan Samavetan Kuruniti. Translation. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. See, this chapter, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 1 to 11, no, it talks about the preparations for the war. And from 12 to 20, the signs of victory of Pandavas. And 21 to 27, Krishna is shown as the Bhakta Vatsal. Now, coming to the current verse which we are discussing, 23rd verse, right? See, the purport Prabhupada says, it is an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been the birds of the same feather. So Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight, just to learn, no, who are they and what. But he had no intention of proposing any peace negotiations. And it was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face. Although Arjuna was quite confident of victory, because why he was confident? Because Krishna was sitting by his side. See, in this the 1.23 verse, Dhartarashtrasya Durbuddhe. Now, what is Durbuddhi, right? It means to usurp others' property is Durbuddhi, mischievous. So why should one encroach upon others' property? That is not good. Sorry. So this is not good, right? That's why now we're seeing the worldwide. Everybody wants to encroach on others' property. There's a war and so many other things are happening. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magrida Kasya Swid Dhanam. Isho Mantra 1. This is the Vedic instruction. You accept only what is given to you. Don't encroach upon others' property. This is a peaceful situation, right? See, everything belongs to Krishna. So whatever Krishna gives you as prasadam, as his favor, you accept it and be satisfied. So this is actually the basic principle of the peace in the world. But people are not educated in that way. Everyone is wanting what? More and more, more and more. There is no satisfaction, complete greed. That is durbuddhi. See, Vedic culture is that You be satisfied with your position. There is no question of starving in any position of life. People are trying to make economic development, right? But according to Shastras, it is not possible to develop your economic position simply by endeavor. You're destined to have some portion mixed with happiness and distress. That is the nature. Bhagavatam 4:8-41 says, Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. So these are the four principles of human activities. The first beginning is Dharma. Right? Dharma means to abide by the orders of the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is Dharma. People do not know, no, who is the Supreme and what is his order. So what kind of religion? They don't know. So they take Dharma as a religion, faith, superfluous faith, right? But that is not Dharma. Dharma means to abide by the orders of the Supreme. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. 6:319 Bhagavatam says. That is the meaning of Dharma. Obedience to God. Very simple. Obedience to God. First of all, you should know who is God, right? So there is no conception of God and what to speak of obedience. But this is the simple meaning of religion, obedience to God. That's all. God is the supreme proprietor. God is the maintainer, right? Bhoktara Meghya Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. It's a peace formula verse. So, see, we are maintained, we are predominated, we are servant. So, we should remain servant of God. That is religion. Unfortunately, people don't know who is God, what is his command. They do not know. They manufacture, right? They manufacture God because they do not know the simple process. Therefore, they are called durbuddhi, not very nice, not intelligent. As in Prabhupada's words, rascals. In Bhagavad Gita, it is very clearly said, Mudha. Mudha means asses. See, people, they don't know their own interest. The one who knows doesn't know his own interest. It's called a Mudha, just like ass. See, the ass, no, in the whole day is working with tons of cloth on his back. Okay. And not a piece of cloth belongs to him. This is ass. And is working so hard only for a morsel of grass, and which is available everywhere. But he is thinking, oh, this gentleman, this washerman, he is giving me food. This is ass. See, such food can be available anywhere and everywhere. But he's thinking like that and working very, very hard. So karmis, they are like that. Karmis will eat two chapatis or four chapatis, but he's working day and night. And if you want to see that karmi, he will say, oh, I have no time, I'm busy. He does not think at any time that I am interested to eat four chapatis, which can be very easily available. So why I am working so hard? But that sense does not come. He's working, 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 more money, more money, more money, right? This is not your business actually. See, the four chapati is already destined to you. You will get any circumstances. So Prabhupada says, you don't waste your time simply under some false impression of economic development. Don't waste your time. You cannot go get more. You cannot get less. It is already predestined. Quota is already fixed. So you have to utilize the time for understanding Krishna. That is the business. People will not accept it. Oh, this is waste of time. Attending class of Bhagavad Gita early in the morning. This is waste of time. So by this time attending classes, I could have earned hundreds of dollars. That is the business of a Muda. Durbuddhi. This is called Durbuddhi. Not very intelligent. Mudas, asses, right? See, why Krishna? We should accept Krishna, right? But people are manufactured God. This is the misfortune. Durbuddhi. That's why Bhagavad Gita 7.15 says, Namam dushkritino mudaha prapadyante naradama. So these are the qualifications of persons who do not surrender to Krishna. Miscreants, mischievous, sinful, mudha, rascal, asses, naradhava, lowest of mankind. So these are the qualifications, right? So they're all durbuddhi. Real intelligent person is the one who is satisfied with what Krishna has given him. See, if Krishna wants, he will give you more. So let me become Krishna conscious. Let me study about Krishna. Let me chant about Krishna. Let me hear about Krishna. Let me see with my eyes the Supreme Lord, the deity of Krishna. Let me engage my hands in worshipping Krishna and cleaning the temple. Let my eggs be engaged in going to the temple. So in this way, all our senses should be engaged in the service of Krishna. This is our real business. See, in the 1.24 purport, Prabhupada says, in this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Guda Kesha. Guda Kesha. Now, Gudaka means sleep. Gudaka means sleep. And one who conquers the sleep is called Guda Kesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance. Why did Arjuna how did Arjuna conquer both sleep and ignorance? Because of his friendship with Krishna. So we should be friend with Krishna, right? So we can conquer both sleep and ignorance. See, as a great devotee of Krishna, Arjuna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee, right? The nature of devotee is that he could never forget Krishna even for a moment, either in waking or in sleep. A devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. So, a devotee of Krishna, he can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. Nityam Bhagavata Sevi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The simple process of chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you are thinking of Krishna. So this is called Krishna consciousness or Samadhi. So as Rishikesha, the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, right? As Rishikesha, no? Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. So Krishna did. And then he spoke. That is the verse 1.25. See, first of all, we can see a person, right? Anything. We can see you, what are your Prabhuji's. So what do we see? See the senses. We can see the senses with our senses, but we cannot see the director of the senses. The director of the senses is the mind. And the director of the mind is intelligence. And the owner of the intelligence is the soul. So this is the understanding. Soul is there. So whose intelligence? See, as soon as we shall say intelligence, no, then whose intelligence? That is the soul's intelligence. So where from this intelligence is coming? It is coming from Paramatma, Rishikesha. Therefore, this word is used here, Rishikesha. So the intelligence will come from Paramatma. Otherwise, we cannot act. Just like a child has got intelligence, right? But it is guided by the parents' intelligence. My dear son, do like this. And he does. Similarly, we have got all this mind, intelligence, everything. But that is being guided by the super intelligence, Krishna. Therefore, he is called as Rishikesha. So we have to reach that platform where we can talk with Rishikesha. That is a spiritual platform. And that is possible. The more you become purified, you can talk with Rishikesha, who is within yourself. He is not, see, he is not outside, right? So although Krishna is in Golok Vrindavan, Krishna is always in Vrindavana, in the spiritual world. But because he is Krishna, right, he can remain with you also at the same time, simultaneously. This is Krishna. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhutaha. This is Brahma Samhita, no? Goloka namni nijadamni tale cha tasya devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu te te prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena govindamadi purusham tamam bhajami. So we have to understand Krishna as Rishikesha. He knows That unless Arjuna becomes affected by family wise, now how Bhagavad Gita will be there? So, although Budakesha Arjuna is above darkness, but by the will of Krishna, he played just like an ordinary man, affected with his family affection. So, therefore, Krishna in this verse says, oh, Krishna says, right, my dear Partha, now you wanted to see with whom you have to fight. So, okay, you see, here is Bhishma, here is Drona, many other kings, all descendants of Kuru dynasty. You're the Dhritarashtra's sons. So, you see very nicely and be prepared to fight with them. So, this is the explanation of Rishikesha and Gudakesha. See, we saw in the purport, no, 1.24, Prabhupada very beautifully described the word Gudakesha. Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha, right? Gudaka means sleep. And one to conquer sleep is called Gudakesha. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and again because of his friendship with Krishna. This is a very important point to understand. So as a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment. So we have to develop this unflinching faith in Krishna. And this is possible only by conquering sleep and ignorance. How did Arjuna conquer sleep and ignorance? I just now told, right? Because of his friendship with Krishna. Very simple. The modern use of electricity, it has turned night into day for many people. So they stay up later enjoying the glamour, entertainment, which are all afforded by electric bulbs, lights. See, they would be more efficient if they got up early instead of staying up so late. Correct. Early rising does not, very important point to understand is, early rising does not necessarily mean that one gets less sleep. Going to bed early at night makes up the difference before it is lost. See, there's an old Chinese proverb that if you lose an hour in the morning, if you lose an hour in the morning, you have to hunt for it for the rest of the day. Correct? No. You'll be running around here and there. So let us not be known as Gudaka, but we are as Gudakesha. Early to bed and early to rise makes one happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's why Bhagavad Gita 6.17 no, says about regulated sleeping and eating. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. See, 18.61 Bhagavad Gita says, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on as on a machine made of the material energy. See, Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. So Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. So Krishna himself, as a localized Paramatma, he sits in the heart and directs the living beings. See, after changing the bodies, the living entity, he forgets his past deeds. But as the super soul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, he remains the witness of all his activities. So all the activities of living entities are directed by this super soul, Paramatma. So the living entity, it gets what it deserves and is carried by the material body, and which is created in the material energy under the direction of the super soul. So as soon as the living entity is placed in a particular type of body, okay, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. If you're a human being, if you're an animal, cat, dog, accordingly. So person seated in a high-speed motor car, he goes faster than one seated in a slower car. Though the living entities, the drivers, they may be the same. So similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature, it fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity so that he may work according to his past desires. So the living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender. See, in Bhagavad Gita 1.15, Sanjaya says, no, about Panchajanyam Rishikesho, Devadattam Dhananjaya, Poundram Dadmo Mahashankam, Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his Devadatta. Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. The purport Prabhupada says, no, the Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses. But he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. So in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna. And therefore his particular name of Rishikesha. So how Krishna is the director of the control of our senses? And how from his direction comes on our protection? There are 3 points we can take here. First one is Krishna is the director of our senses. Okay. Now this is the beauty of Krishna's mercy on a devotee. Krishna is the director. Once my Guru Maharaj was asked, if Krishna is the director, if we are the actors, surely we have some say in our lives. Maharaj said, when a director directs an actor, the actor has no say. If he does not have any say and just listens to the director, the film is very successful. But when the actor thinks that he is the director and starts directing the picture, then the film becomes a flop. And this is how we live our lives. We are all actors. But the moment we think being actor also means being director, we are mistaken. The film will be a failure. But if we really act our roles according to what Krishna wants us to be, then Krishna becomes the supreme director and we become best actors. And we get all the rewards, all the awards, adoration of the people, right? And Krishna gives all these great devotees, right, full glory who follow his directions. So Arjuna followed Krishna, and today, even today, he is being glorified as the main person to have won the Mahabharat war. But those who wanted to be on their own, like Duryodhana and Karna, they were not even left with a single breath because they were killed on the battlefield. So this is the first thing, right? Krishna is the director of our senses. Second is Krishna is the owner and controller of our senses. See, when we submit to the ownership by Krishna, we submit to his direction. In the moment one is directed by Krishna, then Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that one who allows himself to be directed by the Lord, he is also protected by the Lord. So this is the beauty of understanding the word Rishikesha. So when one understands that Krishna is Rishikesha, then one submits his senses at the lotus feet of Krishna. And when he submits to Krishna, Krishna takes full ownership of the senses. And from that ownership, Krishna gives direction on how our senses should move. Now, because we are trying to engage our senses in the service of Krishna, then Krishna obtains full control over our senses. And that means we go on the automatic mode, no remote control. So when the plane is an autopilot, it flies very smoothly. The pilot can go to sleep. The moment the pilot switches from auto mode to manual mode, he has so much tension because everything is dependent on him and he has to maneuver very carefully. Correct. So devotees are very smart. They prefer autopilot as compared to manual pilot. So Maharaj said, why to fly the plane manually when we can fly on autopilot and go to sleep? This is much better. So first point was Krishna is the director of our senses. Krishna is the owner and control of our senses. And third one is from Krishna's direction and control comes the protection. So when we understand that Krishna is the control of our senses, then we also come to understand that from the direction given by Krishna comes the full protection. See, our senses will become completely protected by the auspiciousness of Krishna and his pure devotees. That is the beauty and secret of devotional service. See, sometimes we ask ourselves, no, how to control our senses. But we can't control our senses. But if we allow and submit to Krishna in our heart and in our life, saying, Krishna, you own my senses. They are yours. Let me use them in your service. This is why we should pray first thing in the morning, right? This is what we should pray when we get up. Krishna, you own my senses. They are yours. Let me use them in your service. So this is a very nice in Bhari Bhakti Vilasa. Prata Prabodhita Vishnu Rishikeshan Yat Tvaya Yadyat Karayas Ishana Tat Karomi Tavajnya Tavajnaya. O Vishnu, O Ishana, O Rishikesha, you have awakened me. You have awakened me. And now I am ready to do whatever you wish to do today. So the moment we say that Krishna, right, when we say this, right, Krishna takes over our life and senses. And he directs our senses in such a way that we can go to Krishna conscious programs and become very peaceful. Otherwise, if somebody asks to come for a program, we have so many excuses not to come. But because we are not submitted to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that the real way to control our senses is to hold on tightly to the lotus feet of Krishna. Dhrita Harihi. And very tightly to the lotus feet of devotees. See, if we do not do that now, then we have to hold on to the feet of Maya. And the nature of Maya is to disturb us. So whenever our senses agitate us or disturbs us, we must automatically remember that Rishikesha is the owner of our senses. So let that prayer, no? Krishna, you own my senses. They are yours. Let me use them in your service. So this should be a prayer. So whenever, right, we should. So why we should unnecessarily waste our time allowing our senses to become agitated when they should be used in the service of Krishna? The moment you use it for Krishna, without any separate endeavor, your senses become controlled. ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय गौतम वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु भयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णव.
Hare
Thank you very
Krishna,
much,
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.